Podcast City Network.
Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to The Everett Lee Show. A shot of entertainment to the head. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the entertainment.
What's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Everett Lee Show podcast. I am Everett Lee. Quick shout out to everyone who follows me on Twitter. You can follow me at the Everett Lower Score Lee, Facebook.com/the Everett Lee. Click that thumbs up, and of course, Podcast City Network, the official host of the Everett Lee Show podcast. Everett Lee has gone international. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I've gone international. Especially with my guest tonight. I want to welcome to the program. You can see right there on the screen. He is live right now with me on the phone. I want to welcome to the podcast, the Everett Lee Show, hip-hop rap artist all the way from Australia, Mugzy. How you doing, Mugzy?
Yo, what's going on, man? How you doing? From Sydney, Australia, the land down under. And I love that intro, man. That brought me back to the old school WCW, WWF days, man. So kind of brought me back to my younger days, man, watching all those guys, you know? So thanks for doing that.
No problem, man. No problem. I'm a big wrestling fan, and we were talking right before we went live. We were talking about being wrestling fans and enjoying it, and talking about discussing how just last year WWE came to Australia, and just really good conversation with you, man. Starting off and just loving it. And speaking of Australia and talking about Super Showdown coming down there last year over in Melbourne, where'd you grow up at there in Australia?
I grew up in a place called the Central Coast, man, which is sort of up, it's about 2 hours north train ride of the actual Sydney CBD. So it's probably, you know, coastal and sort of country area, man. But for my work and, you know, gigs and stuff, I pretty much got to commute almost 2 to 3 hours a day, man, just to do a 15-minute gig, man. And it's funny because a lot of the people I work with or, you know, do these kind of opportunities with, they're like, oh, you know, I'm like 5 minutes down the road, or I'm, you know, 10 minutes down the road. How far are you traveling? Like, oh, like almost 3 hours. Like, oh, yeah, dedication, man. And it's like, yeah. And it's sometimes bad, man, because, like, you know, sometimes the train times, you know, they don't come every, like, you know, a couple of minutes over here. They come, like, every few hours. So it's like, you know, if I miss one train, I'm sitting at the platform for, like, almost 2 hours just waiting for the next one, man. So sometimes I get back, like, 1 in the morning sometimes if I've just performed a 15-minute gig in Sydney, you know. So it's, yeah, man, I just love it. I love, you know, doing music and acting and in the entertainment industry and interviews like this, man, and get to meet all different types of people, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
That is awesome. That is traveling to gigs and going places that you know, just to get out there and as an artist and as a musician. I love that. I love that. And just transportation, talking about trains, what else? Transportation. Does a lot of people drive over there, or when they do drive, do they drive like in England over on the left side or the right side like we do here in the States?
It's funny, man, you say that because we drive. Your right is my left, and so my left is your right, and my right is your left. So yeah, on the opposite direction, man. It's like, I don't know, I should be a compass. But when I went over to the States in 2005 on a family trip, man. So I think I was 14 at the time, and I think that was when WrestleMania. What was the one when Undertaker came back? When Kane was taunting him. I think that was 21.
Yeah, it was 21.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's when I was over there, man. And we almost got into a car crash, man, because like we're so used to driving on our end of the road, and first time being in the States, it's like all these ongoing cars are almost coming towards us, and we're like, fuck, what's going on here, you know? So yeah, pretty scary, man. But with your question, yeah, no, we always drive, man. Even though there's half the drivers in Sydney don't even know how to drive. But with my car, man, no, I just leave it at the train station, man, and catch the train down because like if I drove in the city, I think my engine would explode. It's such a bomb of a car, man. It's kind of like one of those Grand Theft Auto missions where you got to drive the car and you can't crash it or anything. That's basically what my
Yeah.
car is, man. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy. That is. Now, being where you live at, do you get a lot of tourism to come in from all over?
Not really the coast where I'm from, man. More in Sydney. I mean, it's tourists, but also business-like people. It's if you type in Sydney 90s or early thousands, it's very spacious. Like it's very easy to get around. And if you type in Sydney 2019, I swear to God, man, it's like skyscraper after skyscraper, and it's just so clustered now, man, of all different hotels, businesses, and everything. It's weird because when I go down there now, I can still visualize what it once was. I remember where this was here and that was there, but it's completely changed, man. And it's funny because I've lived here my whole life. You can easily pick out who are tourists and who are locals, man. And
Right.
I'm not just talking about you walk past like a hostel and see them walk out. Like it's so funny when you look at their faces. Like you'll be walking in the main strip of Sydney, and the look on their face of amazement. You're kind of like, oh, I can tell you're a tourist, because I walk past this every day. Yeah.
Right. Right. That's kind of like back. I was telling you in 2015, I went to New York for the first time, and I tried to blend in and not be too much of a tourist because if I go someplace I haven't been, I tried to blend in and not be a tourist. But for some reason, when I see something, I do get that expression like, "Wow, that's awesome" or something. And then I got people coming up the streets in Times Square at me, trying to shove everything in my face. It's like because like a tourist, it's like, yeah, you got money. It's like, fuck no, I don't. I just spend it this place so I can stay for 2 days.
Yeah, that's exactly the same over here, man. We get these. It's like those sort of uh, GoFundMe or charity sort of things where they hand out the pamphlets and they're like, hey, you want to join our thing? And it's kind of like, I'm with a few charities, man, but I mean, like becomes overbearing at times, and you kind of like they can easily pick out the tourists because the tourists are like, wow, like look at that skyscraper, all that. And like, oh, I've got you red-handed now, buddy. And then it's like, yeah, good luck with that, Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's like $10 a month. Yeah.
Yeah, me and my wife went up to New York, and we went up there to see my niece. She lived up there, and at the time her boyfriend that she was going out with at the time. We talked them into going to the Empire State Building. They never been there. She lived there for 8 years, and I said, "Are you crazy? You've been here? You never went there?" "No, never been there." I said, "Well, we're going." And we're walking to the Empire State Building, and then there's people on the way there. "Oh yeah, we got tickets, man. We got tickets here. You want some tickets?" I said, "Nah, man. I already just went, man. I just went. And it was great. It was great." "Oh, okay." And I just kept walking. I was like, my wife and my niece and her boyfriend's laughing at me. And it was like, "You realize what you just said?" And I was like, "Yeah," and I don't care. I was like, I ain't buying into that. I ain't buying into that. I was like, we'll get tickets when we get there.
That sounds like my dad, man. There's some sketchy kind of areas, in
Yeah.
Sydney. I mean, like Chinatown and stuff like that, and they'll have, not buskers. What are they called? Where they sell you cheap watches and stuff in the street, and you
Yeah.
walk down, they're like, you buy watch, and he's like, buddy, I've already got a watch on my arm. I don't need another one and stuff. It's just like, get out of my face.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's crazy, ain't it? Because because like if I lived there, I would see it every day. Here in Daytona Beach, here in the States, over in Florida, there's tourists all the time. Right now, we have one of the big events going on this week in Daytona Beach, which is Bike Week. And I was leaving to leave where I was working at today to get across town to meet my wife for lunch. And I kid you not, the traffic is so thick, and I tried to not, when I'm going over to lane, I try not to, run over any people on bikes because there's so many in town right now. It's ridiculous. I can, especially Friday night, or it's Thursday night right now, I can walk outside my house and I can hear the bikes. And I know this weekend is going to be like the last weekend for Bike Week. It's going to be crazy. It's been going on all week, but it's good. It's good for the city. It brings in tourism, and it brings in people, and it brings in revenue, which is great.
Man, I was just laughing to myself because when you said you're trapped in traffic and you're trying to figure out a way to get out, I was picturing that episode of The Simpsons where I think they go to London and they're going around the roundabout and it goes keep turning, and then it shows Homer and his hair's out of place and he's like got bags under his eyes. He's like, that's it, and he tries to get out of it. I just thought I've had those moments so many times where I'm so frustrated with traffic that I just need to get like fuck out, man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass, especially during Bike Week here in Daytona Beach, and especially when we have in February where we have the races. We have race week. That's a pain in the ass too because of the tourism. And then in October we have Biketoberfest, they call it, and that's not bad because it's only 4 days, but still so much traffic comes in and it's just crazy. It's crazy because I need to get here to here, which from point A to point B, which don't take a lot of time. Now, with the tourism and with the traffic and everything, it takes longer to get to point A to point B, which is ridiculous. It is. It is ridiculous.
Especially those moments, man, when like you're on low fuel and you're just thinking, crap, am I going to make it in time?
Yeah.
It's just, horrible, man. Terrible.
It is. That's why I fill up during the week, the start of the week, before the beginning of what's going on during the week, and then after that, then I know I'm okay for all week because I won't have to fill up until probably the next couple weeks because I don't travel that far for when I work, and I just prepare. I try to prepare because this is coming up, this event's coming up. All right, I prepare ahead of time, and that's just how I am. What big events or anything that goes on around your neck of the woods
Australia.
there?
Honestly, man, I can't really think of any anymore, and that's a big problem because this is something I want to mention on the podcast. There's a big uproar at the moment with locals and stuff that the government has been putting out a thing called lockout laws, which is instead of partying all night until early hours of the morning, lockout laws now. Firstly, they started with all clubs, all events, all bars, restaurants, nightclubs close at 1 o'clock in the morning, and people are like, God, okay, that kind of sucks, but all right, we'll have to go out at 6 o'clock. Now they've put out lockout laws saying everything closes at 10 p.m. And the reason being is because so much shit was getting out of control, whether it be fights, drunk people, teenagers coming in with fake IDs, like overdosing and stuff like that. And the government was just like, nope, we've had enough. It's time to put these lockout laws in, and there's been this massive uproar about it of just like, one, how is people going to have a fun social life on their weekends or just, nights out? And two, when tourists and locals come over, how are they going to have fun if their original, say for example, you guys came over here, because I've heard that the states are open, 24 hours and stuff.
Right.
If you come over here and it's kind of like, hey, why is everything closing at 10 o'clock? It's such a bad, it's just a stupid idea in general. And yeah, so in answering your question, man, I can't even think of any massive events we have here anymore, man. Like we used to have a strip back in started in the set. I was born in '91, but it started in the '70s, '80s, '90s, early thousands up until 2009, I think, and it was called King's Cross, which was here in Sydney, and it was this. I used to call it the Studio 54 of Australia, because it was this one strip that was. It was like the place in Sydney that never slept. It had like the strip clubs, the brothels, the nightclubs, the pubs, and it was just a place where everyone would do anything there, like get have sex, get high, get drunk and stuff, and then
Right.
um, the government latched onto that, because that was like their first center point of like to shut that place down. And it's funny, man, because I'm reading the guy's book now called John Ibrahim, who he was like called the king of the cross. He owned most of the nightclubs, and it's funny. I'm reading his book now, and like as I'm reading it, it's like I'm reminiscing on old times. Just like, oh, I remember going to this strip club and this and that, and I never got to meet the guy, man. I thought out of all those years going down there, I would have met him, but
Right.
nah. But with the government, man, it's kind of like, sorry to put a bad taste for Australia, but that's what we've been doing for the nightlife. Is nothing's going on here anymore, man. It's kind of like, if you want to find a party, it's best you just sit in your friend's basement and just get high or something, man.
Right.
you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Wow. That I didn't expect that. Wow. That's interesting. That's interesting, and I know that sucks, but like you said there, you got to find something to pass the time and actually have your fun. You got to make your own fun, and wow, I did not know that. I did not know that.
Yeah, I honestly think, man, I really think that when I research into it, when I, yeah, like kind of look into it, I do think um, it was the young teenagers' fault of, getting in, because what they're like, they want to have fun, but I mean, what they used to do, well, what they still try and do now is, like, one of their, they'll sneak in with fake IDs,
Uh
and
huh.
they'll overdose, and then like one of their friends would die, and then their friends would go to the press, be like, hey, my friend died, or my boyfriend, girlfriend, da da da, and it's kind of like, well, if you go into the press, the government's gonna latch onto it and then
Right.
ruin it for everyone. So it's kind of like, do it at your own risk. If you want to take that pill or whatever, do it at your own risk. If shit hits the fan, don't go to the press, because you're ruining it for everyone. So it's kind of like a catch-22, and that's it. Kind of frustrates me, man, when I open the morning paper and it's like, this 16-year-old overdosed with this, and her friends are going to the, and I'm like, man, fuck out of here. You want to take the pill, you do it. So
Yeah.
it's just, yeah, that's just me, man.
Yeah, that well here in the States at clubs and stuff, there's always someone trying to get in with a fake ID. And sometimes
Mm,
they succeed and sometimes they don't. They've been coming up with different ways to try to spot a fake ID, and when they do, they turn them away. They definitely turn them
mm.
away. And usually, I mean, they're pretty good at catching a fake ID. And I mean that honestly, that sucks that they have to ruin it for everybody else. It definitely does. And where you have to pass
Yeah.
time on at your, like you said, in your friend's basement and get high or drink or make music like you do, like you do. What was some of your early musical influences growing up?
Honestly, man, like, I'm 28. I jumped into sort of the hip hop scene when I was roughly 14, 15, man, and
Uh
that
huh.
was the early thousands era. I remember dudes like, Jay Z, Eminem, G Unit, or like that whole era. And it's
Yeah.
funny, man, because like, it's so, we had the golden era, which is the 90s, like Nas, Wu Tang and stuff, but like the that era and the thousands era was just so reminiscent for me. And I just reckon everything was great about it. The music was great, the look was great, the artists were great, and around that time, man, I mean, like when 8 Mile dropped, every white boy from the suburbs wanted to do the battle rap scene. I'm just gonna put it out there, but with me, man, I really used it as a therapeutic thing because at the time I wasn't your so-called Mr. Popularity, I guess you can say,
Right.
back in high school, and I was going through sort of the adolescence years of, mentally depressing and, suicide and that kind of stuff. And just fighting through my adolescence kind of years, I look back on it and think, man, it's just immaturity, teenage shit. But I felt that hip hop was a platform to really express my anger and stuff through poetry and rhyme instead of just taking a happy pill from a psychologist. And no, but when I became more mature, man, and grew up, I didn't want to take this culture for granted. I really wanted to try and learn where it came from, or try and embrace it as much as I can. And I thought it would have made me a more better and mature MC and more developed. So yeah, I'm not the type of guy to just do it for the sake of music. I really love the culture of hip hop and what it's provided me, man.
Right.
So yeah, like I mean, my influences were, dudes like Eminem, Rakim, Nas, DMX, Tupac, all that kind, like real lyricists, man. So it's funny when I see the newer sort of age artists now, man, because kids, teenagers who know me now, and know I do hip hop music, they come up to me and they're like, hey, have you checked out Lil Pump's album, or Lil this, or Shorty this, or bitch this, bitch that, and it's like, it's kind of just like, yo, like, it's funny the different generations, like, they hand me that, and I'm like, yo, check out a Public Enemy, check out a Run DMC, like, and I'm like showing them all this, lyricist kind of stuff, and I just feel, man, like I know it's such a universal kind of culture, and it's changing after years. But I think there needs to be substance. Me personally, like I think if I know so many talented artists, and if you're putting something, like if you are willing to invest money into something that's just Gucci Gang, like that's all he's saying for like 4 minutes straight, and you've got this lyricist that's punchlines, bars, a great concept song. And he's working a 9 to 5 job. I can't rock with that, man. I feel that's a bit, kind of criminal to a real true artist's dream, in my opinion, man. It's kind of because I know the pain and the strain of what it is to try and achieve that dream of becoming a successful artist. That makes sense, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Early 2000s, I know what you're talking about with early 2000s with the music. I mean, there was like, yeah, Jay-Z, DMX. DMX, I mean, he was hot. I was listening in Eminem. I believe it was the Marshall Mathers LP. That was hot. And in like the early 90s, like the late 90s, when was it the Slim Shady show? That was really good. I had both those albums. And the Marshall Mathers LP, I was with my cousin. We went on a road trip. And he's like, what do you got? And I said, I got Eminem. He's like, I never listened to Eminem. I said, oh, you're going to love this. And we listened to both albums. And when I forget which song it was. I believe it was the one that was at the end of Marshall Mathers LP, where
Under the Influence, is that the one where he had all D12 on it and stuff? No, Criminal.
Criminal. I believe it was Criminal, or it was one of the songs on there. Oh, it was the song Kim, where he's talking about at the end. Yeah, my cousin actually shut off the CD. I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "There's one more good song after this." He goes, "No." He said, I like Eminem. He said, but that right there kind of overdoes it for me. And I was like that right there. I knew it was like, this is a really good CD. He's like, it's good music. He's like, but right there, he's like, that got a little bit too much for him. Like talking about, rapping and hooking with lines, talking about strangling your wife. He's like, no, I'm done with that. But
it's great you brought that up, man, because I got a funny ass story about Kim, and Sorry to cut you off, man. Like
No, no.
before I forget it, is one of my old friends. Well, not my old friends. I still keep in touch with him today. Is we used to have these sort of not house parties, kind of like these little gatherings, just every once in a few weeks, just to catch up, and a few guys, a few girls come over and just have a couple of drinks, and we got like really drunk one night. He's like, "Let's play Kim. Let's just blast that song." And I'm like, "Yeah, all right." So we blasted. We're like, singing along to the lyrics. And if obviously you've heard the lyrics, it's about killing his wife and stealing his kid and raping and da 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 da. And we were just like screaming it at the top of our lungs, so like the whole neighbors could hear and probably think, "Shit, is it like what's going on in that house?" And the next morning we had like these garbage bags these garbage bags like full of the empty bottles and stuff, but these old people like walk past their morning walk from the previous houses, and we're just like, where what did I say? I said like, yeah, where do you want to put the evidence, like that? In sort of a tone thing, is shit, have they killed someone in there? Is that what all that commotion was last night?
Oh
That's what
man,
it was like.
that's great. That's awesome. I like that. That's a good.
Yeah.
That's great. That sounds like something I would have pulled back when I was in my early 20s. I did some crazy shit in my early 20s. That sounds like something I would pull. But yeah, I mean, damn. Eminem was awesome. 8 Mile, I love that movie. I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic because it was directed by the guy who did the Russell Crowe movie A Beautiful Mind, which I thought was like one of Russell Crowe's great most underrated like movies, because he's known for Gladiator, Russell Crowe, but A Beautiful Mind, that actually right there, it got you to think there for a while, because you think the movie's going this direction, and then when it gets to a certain point, it goes to that direction. You're like, wow, I didn't even think of that, and that makes a lot of sense now. And I feel that a lot of people that's not checked out that movie, they need to check it out. And
Oh, it's an
because
incredible film, man.
mhm,
Yeah.
it is. And then if you watch that and then you watch Eminem, because when I watched 8 Mile, I knew that was Eminem, but as I got into the movie, I looked at him as the character. I saw that. I didn't see Eminem. I saw a good story, and good performances in that movie, which is great. The soundtrack was freaking great, man. I mean, it had Mary J. Blige in it. It had 50 Cent, and just a lot of different artists other artists I can't think of off the top of my head, but those come to mind right there. And that was the first time I actually heard 50 Cent, was off of that movie right there, off the 8 Mile soundtrack, because I didn't know who
Yeah,
50
man.
Cent was.
Like I mean, like out of my career, and speaking about the early thousands, last year, I'm in touch with this, promoter kind of guy. Like he brings a lot of bands and stuff over, and he brought over Swifty, who was one of the D12 members, and Obi Trice, who did the album Cheers, and they were
Nice.
like two of like Eminem's childhood friends, and who grew up with him on the Aftermath label and stuff, and they kind of did a Down Under Cheers anniversary tour. I think it was 15 years since the album's been out, and I thought, yep, going to it, can't miss out on this and stuff. So, anyways, I'm there at the night front row and stuff, and I'm just like literally like a few like feet away from like these guys I grew up with Eminem, and I'm just like, knowing how big Eminem is in my career, I just thought, far out, this is insane. So after the show, everyone went home, and because I keep in touch with Patrick over Facebook, he spots me in the crowd, and he's like, "Yo, Mugzy, come over," like, because this is the first time we've met. He lives in another state, and I'm just like, "Dude, nice to meet you, man. Out of all these years," and he's like, "You want to meet Swift and Obi?" And like, I was like, get out of here, like,
No
no
way.
way. Yeah,
No
and
way.
and so he's like, yeah, like, we're just having, like a few drinks and stuff. So, when like up the stage and behind, the ramp and da da da, and got to meet him and stuff and slap hands with him and meet him, and like words couldn't even express, man. Like just knowing you're face to face with these dudes that grew up with one of the biggest, like, hip hop artists of all time, man. And I grew up listening to these dudes in high school, and never thought I'd see the light of day of meeting these guys in person, having a chat with them. Pictures are up on my Facebook, but it was funny because my friend Ben, the one I was telling you about, we were with Kim. The next, the next day, we just went out for a drink and stuff, and he's like, oh, what'd you get up to last night? And he's like, oh, nothing. I just sat home and watched TV. And he's like, what'd you get up to last night? And I like showed him the photos, and he almost fell out of his chair. He's like, get the fuck out of here. Like, how do you get to meet them? And I was just like, oh, I've got my ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was it's one of those reminiscent moments of like, did that actually happen, kind of thing.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's something you will always remember right there. Just meeting someone in the caliber and with that notoriety right there. That I like that. I definitely like that.
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah,
definitely do.
just next up has to be 50 Cent, man. If I ever get to meet 50, that would just be. I think I'd be a fangirl, man. I think I would honestly be like, like a
Yeah.
little high school fangirl, man. And I wouldn't be able to speak because that dude is just. Yeah, like when Get Rich or Die Trying came out, man, like every track on that album was dope. Like Wankster, Into Club, all that sort of jazz, man. Like I'm just reminiscing right now. Like that era, the early 2000s was just fantastic for me, man. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It definitely was early 2000s. So many great artists, so many great songs came out, and we seen like a lot of like artists that's been around started actually coming out with more hits, and you would also hear the songs on the radio a lot more. Like DMX, you mentioned DMX. I remember DMX when he came out with the one album in I forget the name of it, in late 99, in the late 90s, and in early 2000s right there. I mean, it carried on into 2000. I mean, it had some good songs. The party up in here. I love that song. Y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here. I just love that. And the Rough Riders anthem. I love that, man.
Oh yeah, man.
Stop.
How big were Rough Riders at the time, man? I remember that with their R's, and they used to come in on their quad bikes and four wheelers and stuff. Like Rough Riders was freaking insane back then, man. It's funny too. Like speaking of the early thousands, when I was a teenager, I'm gonna lie, man. Like I legit, I was full Malibu's Most Wanted back then. I'm not gonna lie. Like I pulled the wig of shit. And I'm surprised I didn't get my head punched in there. If I had pictures of it still to this day, man, I would show you. But like, I was a full mess. Like, full do rag and sag and jig, like the whole works, like head to toe. And it's funny, man, because even though I was probably walking around like I got a fucking pole up my ass, looked like a damn joke going to the mall like that. They were like the most colorful years of my life, man. Because everything was good, the music was good, the artists were good, and just I don't know. Maybe when you grow older, you got more responsibility, but I don't know. I just even though it was a fucking joke back then, it was just a good time.
Yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time because the music scene was really good. There were some bands coming out that had some really good music, and I remember hearing it on the radio and seeing on MTV at the time, back when they still played music videos. I've seen 50 Cent, I'm seeing Eminem, I'm seeing DMX, I'm seeing Nas, I'm seeing Jay-Z, I'm also seeing Mary J. Blige, and God rest her soul, the Aaliyah, who died at an early age. She had a couple hits out, which was really good. And there was also, I'm trying to think because there's so many right now because I'm trying to jog my memory. There was other music I was listening to at the time that was like really big, like Three Eye Blind, I believe them, and then there was like POD, and then like the new metal was getting really big, like Korn, Limp Bizkit, all them, and then you had the hip hop rap scene, which was a great time. There was so much good music that was coming out.
I mean, like you knew your clique, like your genre. I mean, like it wasn't um there's something wrong with nowadays. I feel like it's a bit there's not really avenues for music anymore where you knew your own group. Like I mean, yeah, you had your hip hop, or you had your heavy metal and your rockers, or you had your gothics and your sort of Evanescence, Slipknots, and all that. Like there was different
Right.
groups of like who you could tell, like, and your pop and your R&Bs and stuff. But nowadays it's so clustered. Like rappers want to be looking like they're from the punk scene, and like pop singers looking like they want to be in the. And it's so I realize it's so clustered, and there's no for me, man, it just doesn't look right. Like I need. That's why I was saying I need the right look and the right sound. That's why I love that era so much. That when you look at a dude like Nas or Jay-Z, you're like, oh, that's hip hop. You look at
Mm-hmm.
it like dudes like Slipknot or something, you're like, oh, that's heavy metal and very very raw and grungy and stuff.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's like you look at a dude like Slipknot, it's like, oh, that dude's sick, and it's like, yeah, he's the next rapper. The fuck? That dude's a rapper. No, he's not like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It don't. And one thing I noticed about the early rap in the early 2000 hip hop scene, a lot of the videos that they were playing back then, when MTV was playing videos back then, a lot of the way the videos looked and stuff, a lot of the hard rock 80s band people like Motley Crue, Poison and stuff, they looked at videos at that time period, and they said, you know what, that in a way is a throwback to how we used to do videos, where we'd show off the cribs, the cars, the women, the money, and everything. And it was neat because that time at that hip hop they took that, and they basically was influenced by how the looks and stuff in the videos for their songs, and they applied that to their video and song, and people are like, wow, no way. And 80s hard rock bands are like, yeah, we did that, and it's awesome that they've taken that and they're using that, which is great, because they came out with some good videos. Honestly,
Oh man,
they did.
100%. Like I also remember the hype behind it. This before smartphones and internet was sort of early development stages. But I remember you would have to go and search for it, or it'd be word of mouth. Like it'd be like, oh my God, have you heard? Hypothetically, have you heard Eminem's song Kim? And I'd just be like, what? No. And they'd just be like, oh my God, it's insane. And it's
Right.
like, wait, the album hasn't come out yet. How have you heard that? It's like Bear Share. Or like, one of those dodgy ones where you have to like download like, one of the songs to get a virus or something and then burn it onto your CD and play it on your PlayStation 2, man. It's just like,
Yeah.
they were just the times, man, with all the rumors and you had to search for stuff. And if you had that one thing that no one else had, you're just like, oh man, like no one could conquer me right now.
Yeah.
I've got the album and used, you know? Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm.
Exactly. Well, real quick here, going to take a quick 2-minute break here. I want to give a shout out to the sponsors of Podcast City Network. And when we come back from the shout out to the sponsors of Podcast City Network, we're going to talk more with Mugzy right here on the podcast. So viewers listening and watching tonight, I want to thank you for tuning in tonight here on the Everett Lee Show. And when we come back, we'll have more with Mugzy. So stay tuned.
The following support and sponsor Podcast City Network. City Limits Tap Room, sports bar in DeLand, Florida, has brew on tap, serve food, the grilled cheese is excellent. For upcoming events, check out City Limits Tap Room on Facebook.com/City Limits Tap Room. Atlantic Sounds has thousands of new and used vinyl records and CDs. If they don't have it, they can order it for you. Same location since 1982. For more updates on what's new, check out Atlantic Sounds on Facebook.com/Atlantic Sounds Vinyl. Sports Sanity Customs have worked with organizations from custom embroidering polo shirts to jerseys for your kids' baseball team. They do it all. Armed with state-of-the-art equipment and an in-house design team, they are equipped to take on your next project. Visit their website to learn more, sportsanitycustoms.com. Visit Sports Sanity Customs on Facebook.com/SportsSanityCustoms. 3Count Design offers a wide range of graphic design products, video, photography and other forms of media. Everything from t-shirt designs to websites. Visit Facebook.com/3CountDesign for more. Demo Blast Studios, an explosion of imagination. Original artwork, podcasts, video, apparel and more. Visit DemoBlastStudios.com. Visit Demoblast Studios on Facebook.com/Demoblast Studios, the best family entertainment pro wrestling show in the state of Kentucky. Kentucky's Own Wrestling brings quality family vintage wrestling to a town near you. Kentucky's Own Wrestling offers a ladies division in wrestling and a training school. Kentucky's Own Wrestling is the current longest running Southern promotion. Visit Facebook.com/Somerset Kentucky's Own Wrestling. All supporters and sponsors are brought to you by Podcast City Network.
You're listening to The Everett Lee Show.
I'm here with, on the line, all the way from Australia, hip-hop rap artist Mugzy. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you is that listening and being influenced by all the hip-hop and artists that we talked about in the early 2000s, when did you decide that you wanted to become an artist yourself and get into the music?
Man, at first, I really started dropping down rhymes and that at the age of 14, but I was really mimicking what M did, like very twisted rhymes and, just real lethal kind of wordplay and stuff. And it was just to express my anger, what I had at the time. But when I started to develop more and learn more about this culture, I would see dudes like, KRS-One or, Run DMC and all those great, Grandmaster Caz in the 70s, or all these great kind of pioneer guys, and they would always say, in the culture of hip hop, you can have your influences, but if you really mimic and you're trying to base your characteristics on, who your influences are, and you don't show your true potential, it's going to look very frowned upon in this culture of hip hop. So it was cool to have my influences, man, but I knew I had to drop the whole Eminem menacing act and find my own path. So what I did was I just really wrote about my own inner struggles and my own pain and stuff, and trying to use this message to really give back to the next person who was going through the same dramas that I did. And when I did a rough demo and I started trying to hand it out there and trying to get my name out there, and people started to really pick it up and knew who I was, it was kind of like that local celebrity warmth, like, it's that sort of celebrity buzz in a sense of people knowing you for your craft and wanting to hear more. And ever since then, I didn't want to put it down, man. And like, it was funny, man, because when I was starting off, I think I had like a 3-track demo, and it was such a rough quality, man. And I remember handing it out there, whether it be gigs, local stations, or just dudes that were in my position I am now, and I'd be like, hey, can you check it out? Can you share it, or whatever the case may be? And they would have this ego about them to not want to, ride with me. They'll just be like, they'll just be like, oh, it's not for us, or we've never heard of Mugzy before, so no, you're not in our crew, so whatever. And at that moment, man, I was thinking, that's an up and coming artist downfall. If no one wants to, hear what you have to say, it's kind of like, well, do I continue going? Like, if there's no opportunities getting given to me, where do I go from here? So instead of the Australian scene, I jumped into, the American scene with social media and tried to do the same routine again. And I was constantly getting interviews and features and radio play because you guys were reaching out more to me than the Australian scene was. And
Right.
I started to develop my resume that way and my experience. And when I started to develop more as an artist, I'll get up and coming artists hitting me up in my inbox, up in my fan page, and saying, "Hey, can you check out my SoundCloud or my Reverb Nation on my YouTube and stuff?" And I'll think back to what happened to me, and I'd be like, "What gives me the right to push them away and be
Right.
like, nah, your quality's not up to top notch, or I've never heard of you." I had none of that going. That's why I'm such a chilled out guy, man. I've never had an ego to push another artist's career goals away. Like, I mean, even if they're even if they're doing the trap kind of Gucci Gang kind of stuff today, and it's not my my cup of tea, I still don't push them away and say, yo, that's not the hip hop I do. I just push them in the right direction. Man. I said, hey, check out this guy, maybe he can help you out, and they become real humble about that, man. They're like, wow, he's done so much in his career already. I thought he would have had this ego to push me away because I'm just starting up. Nah, man, like, if you're willing to reach out to me or vice versa and, check out my stuff and willing to help me as much as you, at the end of the day, we both want the dream, man. So that's all
Hmm.
I can wish for. And to any artist, man, I feel like if you have such an ego where it's like you need to have this amount of followers or have this much quality in your music, it's just a downfall in your career, man, because you're not being open to you know, uh, collaborating with, every kind of work, if that makes sense, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm,
It definitely does. You got to be humble, basically, because if you have that ego, it's only going to get you so far, and
mm,
and with that ego, you're going to get to a certain point. You're going to hit a brick wall. Being humble and going and getting yourself out there and being humble and having everyone you thank everyone that features you and stuff and that's amazing that the American audience, because I mean they pretty much, the American audience, they anything that looks and sounds good, they latch onto it. And I've listened, you sent me your music off of SoundCloud, and I have it pulled up right here on my computer right now. I'm screenshotting right there for the viewers watching, and you have a lot of tracks on here, and you even put stuff on there that you've done with interviews, which is great, which is fantastic to get those out there to mention, hey, I done this and I done that. And then of course you got your tracks. I was going through listening to your tracks, and the first one right there, Understand Me, I clicked on that,
mm.
and right then and there I said to myself, I said, this is great. So I started going through looking at other ones there. The Understand Me, I love that one. Superheroes, Darkness Falls, and then I listened to Don't Cry. You kind of went a little bit in the ballad, I would say, if that's the right way to put it, the ballad of the slow hip hop. But then as I went down and listened to The Rain, you did that featured Eden Hook. I thought that was fantastic, having that female voice and what you were trying to do with that song. And just listening to the range and the variety of your tracks, I loved it. No song sounded alike, and you did your hooks and rhymes talking about what was going on in each song. Each song was different. I love that because nothing sounded the same. And when you're coming up with these hooks in your beats, how do you come up with them? How do you come up with the song, your song structure and your idea?
Yeah, appreciate it, man. And to answer that question, I mean, like, I mean, I haven't released anything since 2013, which has been, geez, a long time, and I'll get to that in a minute. But
Uh-huh.
with me, man, I know guys that just write to a beat for the sake of it. They're like, oh, that sounds hot, so I'm just gonna write to it and promote it out there just for material. But I'm the type of artist, man, I really like to concept stuff because and find the right beat and find the right message and concept, whether it's to promote it or put it on an album for the longevity purpose. Because I feel that if you're just putting out song after song after song, whether it's just it could be a good beat, it could be an okay beat, or whatever the case may be, just to put material out, I feel like your catalog gets a bit clustered, and it sound like everything starts sounding the same. And with me, I I love it where or artists where they take their time to make that longevity song where it's like you could, go back to it and play it over and over again. And yeah, with me, man, that's why, yes, I haven't released anything since 2013 because I jumped into the acting field,
Right.
for a couple of years. But in saying that, man, for 2019, I've been really focusing back in the studio and finding the right concepts and beats. And for my third album, man, like if I could see into the future, I do think that the platform that I'm on and the beats and the concepts I'm gonna write, I do think this will be my best work yet. Like, sometimes I hum, choruses and concepts in my head, like not full lines. Or probably just be humming and maybe get a few words out, but it develops into the concept that I want, and I'm like, man, that I'm gonna start writing to that, and I reckon that's gonna be great. But I've never been an artist just to write. Like, it's like, hey, here's a beat, write to it. It's like, nah, because there's no longevity with that, man. I want to hear an actual beat which it separates myself from the rest, and I'll be like, this, I know this is gonna spark some heads more than just listening to it for the sake of it, you
Right.
know? Yeah. Mm.
I like it. I like it. I definitely like it. Now, you're talking about albums and you're talking about putting out music. Now, has any major or any label actually contact you and have looked at you and said, "Hey, we want to sign you to our label"? Has any of that happened, or anybody reached out to you?
The only thing so far I've had is back in 2015. I only got a distribution deal through uh, a Sydney label over here called Blue Pie Records. They just distributed my Understand Me album for a couple of months. That was about it. But it's funny you brought that question up, man, because, and this kind of, in a sense, was a massive slap in the face, but a realistic approach about how this industry works is, back in 2012, when I was, this before my second album came out, and I was just doing gigs and interviews and stuff, and I was still in that moment. I was still in that approach of, when a big manager sees you, or a big label sees you, you're going to be a star. Like, you're just going to be, they're going to sign you and your life's going to be changed, and all that jazz. And
Right.
it doesn't work like that, man. It's kind of like winning the lottery. It's a very, high risk, high solution industry. And back in 2012, I was performing at this kind of Australia's Got talent show thing called Urban Star, and it was like searching for the next big, hip hop R&B singer kind of thing. And
Right.
um, so I contacted the promoters and stuff and tried to figure out, what it was about, how does it work and stuff. And they said, there's 3 judges on the night. They give you a score out of 10 out of 10 and all that sort of jazz. And on the night, there was about 30 contestants, and sadly enough, I was one of the last ones to go up, so I had to sit through all those other contestants, which was a drag.
Uh-huh.
Um, but what I realized was every single one was doing a cover song, like, of someone else's material. And I
Right.
was like, well, in hip hop, like we don't do cover songs, we do our own material. So I went up and I performed one of my original tracks, which was on my rough demo called Keep On Rapping. And I think there's footage of it somewhere on YouTube. I'd have to go look for it, but I performed it, and on the night there was a judge there called Marcus Pennell, and rest in peace to him. He passed away in 2016, but he used to be a producer for Def Jam and Sony, and he's worked with like Jennifer Lopez and all that kind of stuff. And you know, when I knew he was on the bill, I thought, okay, this is my moment, you know, to shine. This is like, you know, whatever Eminem says, you know, one shot, you know, got whatever he says.
Right.
And so I performed my song and rocked the crowd and that, and two of the judges scored me with a 0, which I don't know why. And then it came to Marcus, and he was doing the whole Simon Cowell treatment, giving me the weight around. And I thought, if two of them have given me a 0, then, you know, if he's worked with all these great artists, there's clearly he's going to give me a 0. And he gave me a 10 out of 10. And
Nice.
and everyone was just, you know, like shocked, and they're like, yo, Marcus, you know, you want to elaborate on why you give him a 10 out of 10? And he said, every single artist on tonight has done a cover song, and Mugsy's been the only one to do an original piece. I feel that as an artist, you know, doing an original piece showcases an artist's true potential more than doing someone else's work, because if you do someone else's work, you're not showing what you can, if you can actually write, record, or, you know, actually showcase, you know, how to perform a song, you know. And so I thought, oh, that's great. Talked to him at the end of the night, got his number and stuff, and it was probably a month after that he contacted me and he said, you know, I've listened to your demo and stuff. Can we come out for lunch, you know, down the CBD? And I was just like thinking, this is it. This is the moment. He's going to have the contract, and, you know, my life's going to be changed forever, and all this sort of stuff.
Right.
Everything I've worked so hard for. And I traveled down there, you know, the 3-hour train ride and stuff. Went out to a local Chinese restaurant with him, and he's telling me how he got in the industry and who he's worked with and stuff. And he basically broke it down to me that, you know, if you were, because, you know, Australia doesn't really have a massive market for music. And this is before Iggy Azalea popped on the scene, but he said, you know, it'd be very a struggle to sign an Australian artist to an American audience that hasn't really heard like of you before. And because, like, you know, like especially like a true Australian artist like Iggy Azalea pulled that whole Wigger shit. You know, like she put on the whole act. Like with you, with being such a true potential artist, it's kind of like for a stereotype thing. If, you know, if I walked you through Def Jam doors, it's kind of like, yo, are we signing Crocodile Dundee? You know, kind of thing. It's like, you know, they've never heard of Australian hip hop before, so, and they don't invest. Like, it's not like, you know, artists that they used to, where it's like, I can see this potential in an artist, let's invest money into him and see where he goes from here. It's like, you have to invest in yourself before labels invest into you now. And we had a chat. It was about an hour or maybe a couple of hours and stuff, but I just remember feeling like it was like my life flashed before my eyes, man. It was kind of like, you know, you think that a big artist or a big manager is going to sign you, and it doesn't work out. That's the end of your career. And I went through a pretty downward spiral after that, man, because I remember walking out thinking, do I quit? Do I keep on going? Like, I mean, like, what just happened there? You know, like, this should have been a life-changing moment, and now I'm going back to my 9 to 5 job kind of thing. And that was the moment where I realized, you know, and I say this to upcoming artists that have the same mindset. It's like, I make my first demo, my first big artist, my first big label hears me, I'm going to be signing up. If you go into that mindset, and I've been through it, you're going to come out ruined, because it's an industry designed for you to fail, and you just have to have a realistic approach, but keep going for the dream. And I mean, like, when I walked out of that, I just thought, you know, now it's time. That was like a realistic, it was like a realism got slapped in my face of just like, okay, this is not, the industry doesn't work like that. Keep pushing harder day by day and hope for the best, but don't expect, the end outcome, if that makes sense, man. But it was kind of like a wake up
Yeah.
call, but also a realistic approach as well. And he was a great guy, man. Like we became friends after that, but like we were friends before he passed away. But
Right.
yeah, like, but it was such a. I think that was probably like one of the worst things I went through in my career, like 100%. Like, it's kind of like you're on the Wizard of Oz rainbow going down there, and then at the end of it, it's like um uh what is that freaking movie called? I can't even think of it. The Purge. It's like the Purge, man, anarchy
Purge.
and stuff at the end of
Yeah.
it, man. It was bad, man. I'll give you that. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's that's crazy, but I do agree. I do agree with you. With a lot of people think that, yeah, if I do this demo, I put this out there, then bam, I'm gonna get get signed, and then that's it. And it takes years and years for an artist to actually get out there, and they stay true. They hit stuff like you mentioned there, but they keep pushing through, and that's great that you kept pushing through, and you still keep pushing through to this day. I was watching on Netflix last year, a couple years ago. They had a documentary about Twisted Sister, and I did not know that Twisted Sister, before their album and the videos and stuff they put out in the mid 80s, that they were doing that stuff for 10 years around New York, New Jersey, playing all over the place and making a name for themselves for 10 years. And during that time, MTV and everything didn't even like pick up on them, or any major label picked up on them, or any label actually. And then when they went over to England to do a TV show, then boom, it happened. They got signed, and then the rest is history, because what you see on MTV and you heard on the radio. But before that, man, they busted their ass for 10 years, and then finally they got their break. They stuck with it. It's kind of like with podcasting. I've been doing this since 2014. And I've went through three show changes, and the last one, the third one, third time's a charm. Me doing the Everett Lee show, and all this time in the last 5 years, just busting my butt and stuff. I had people that listen to me on and off and stuff. And here in the last few months, in the last year, half a year, things are really starting to pick up. And I just kept pushing forward, because there was a point at my time where I said, you know what, I'm fucking done with this shit. I'd see and hear people, oh, I just got 50,000 downloads, or I got 15,000 downloads. Here I am, I'm busting my ass, and I'm getting like, at the time, I was getting like 50 to 100. I was lucky. But now things have turned around, and it's just, I stuck to my guns, and I kept going. And I admire you for doing that, sticking to who you are, being who you are, not changing or doing anything, and believing in yourself and going the distance. And I believe that it will come for you, man. It will. You just keep that attitude, keep that positive attitude that you got. You will.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it, man. Like, I mean, it's incredible you say that, where it's like, kept pushing and stuff,
Yeah.
and get 100 likes next minute, you go on YouTube, and it's like a ridiculous video gets over 100K or something. Like, how does that work, And
Right.
it's more like, I always get the question of, people that have known me for years, or known how much I've invested into my career. They're like, how haven't you lost your mind? Of because like you're doing a part-time job, and doing music and balancing it. How don't you lose your mind, or just go insane? And it's like, oh, trust me, like, I've had my moments where I've hit rock bottom. Like, I've hit,
Right.
like, it's like, I don't care anymore. Like, I'm not going to go on the story, but like last year I was close. I had like two insane on my health. But like I had 2 heart attacks in the course of 8 months.
Oh, damn.
And yeah, I was like rushed to hospital, and it's just for like being in that mindset of wanting it, but also it kind of consumes you of jealousy and guilt and anger of like, why isn't it not working, and
Mhm.
having those 2 attacks kind of gave me a wake up call to say, look, if you how I deal with it now, man, is push every day like it's your last, but have a realistic approach as well. Like, I mean, push, like, grind every day, but don't think it's gonna happen. Like, there's a guarantee that it's gonna happen, because you will only drive yourself insane. Like, I mean, like, I push 110%. I've slept on train benches, and just to make that meeting the next day to hear like a no. And I feel what's kept me so level-headed is get any opportunity can, but still have that approach of whatever happens out of this happens, and don't act like there's a guarantee it's going to happen, because that only sends you loony. And it sent me loony. It sent me to fucking 2 heart attacks, man. Of you know thinking it's gonna happen, and it didn't happen, man. So yeah, like, I mean, that's all I can say to new artists is do it and put your 100% all into it, but also have the approach of, if that label comes, or that manager comes, or you're getting this amount of followers and stuff, don't act like it's that's the calling card. Your life's gonna be changed forever. Like, find the right situation where it's gonna be like it like, what I'm saying, man, is if there's a certain point in my career where I've made a stable income, hey, I'm just living in a 1 bedroom apartment or something, but I'm making a stable income to pay my bills and stuff off music, that's my success, But at this point in time, it's not there yet, but I'm still pushing for the dream, and I'm having that realistic approach of, you know, um,
Mhm.
I don't know, it probably sounds very naive, but it's like, it's just, that's what's kept me level-headed over all these years, man. But
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Mm.
That's a good way. That's good way to look at it. And you just jump back into the music there, and you go with it, man. You definitely go
Mm.
with it. And I know what it means by hitting rock bottom, because at one point I didn't think in the beginning of 2016, I didn't think I would have a camera looking at me right now with a microphone, with my earphones, shades on, and doing this again after I lost my mother-in-law and my son. After I lost them, I figured, that's it. I hit, in a way, that was my rock bottom, because for like a whole month, I just drank and drank and drank. And then I snapped out of it. It's like, damn, I got to get back into it. And I started looking, and I started losing people on social media, on Twitter. Started losing followers, and I had to do something. And then that's when I went in and reinvented myself and just went with it. And it's been great. I've stuck to it, and I know what it means, man, when you actually hit that, and you keep positivity around you and drive the negativity away and just keep going forward. And when one door closes, man, another opens up. And it takes time. It definitely takes time. Like Aerosmith, you know how many hit songs they've had in their career? They've had a bunch. But have they had a number one hit? They only had, it took them, I think, 20 or more something years to actually get one number one hit, which was the song from the Armageddon movie, I Don't Want to Miss a Thing.
Yeah.
That was their only number one hit, and look how long it took them. But they got it. They hit that. And no matter how long it takes and how far you go, you will eventually get there. There will be a point to get there. I like Motorhead, Lemmy Kilmister.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
he
man.
said was when he got older in age, Motorhead got really popular, which it did because a lot of people were like Motorhead, and he said, "Damn," he said, "at this point in my life, he's like almost pushing like 50 or past 50, and he's like, here I am. He's like, I'm popular now than I was back before then." And it's like
But,
ACDC. ACDC, man, look at them. Look, I mean, they were awesome, and they were on fire when they had Bon Scott. But when
mm,
Bon Scott passed away, and when they got Brian Johnson in as their singer, I believe they got bigger because of the time and everything. It's timing too. You've heard of that? It's the time.
how crazy is it that like Bon Scott like he's like mimicked like he the original guy's like voice and everything, man. And it's like you
Yeah,
can't even tell the difference, man. It's like what the hell, That's crazy.
I know.
Like
I know. I mean, ACDC. I know they're from Australia, and
they are, yeah.
and a couple of the members actually live here in the same state I live in Florida. I forget who lives here in Florida though, but a couple of them do. Which is AC/DC is one of my favorite bands. I love AC/DC. They're fucking awesome, man. There's some great tunes. I turn on the radio. I have satellite radio. I have Sirius XM in my car. When I'm driving to work in the morning or driving home, if I'm on that long drive, I turn it over to the Hard Rock Classic channel, and I kid you not, Mugzy, guess what pops on during that hour drive? AC/DC. It's usually Big Guns or Highway to Hell, or it's Jailbreak. I listen to on the way home or going to work in the mornings.
I think my funniest AC/DC story was once in no, it's fresh out of high school, 2009. I was doing a music production course at a local tape, and they were touring like this massive tour here in Australia. I think it was like their reunion kind of tour coming back, and
Right.
like I just didn't have the money to go, but it was the funniest thing. I remember, like everyone in the class went, right, and I'm just like, doing my work and stuff, because I was so invested in the hip hop scene. I love rock, but I was like, I wasn't invested like those guys were. Like, it was kind of like I was the outcast, even though they loved me. And the next day, rock up to class and stuff, and everyone's just talking like, "Yeah, sorry when they jammed down this guitar, da da da," and I was just sitting there like the only one in that production class, just like, yeah, I didn't make that one. Just let you guys talk, and I'll sit here like a loner, just thinking, what concert did I miss out on?
Right.
So it was just one of those unawkward moments where it's like you're the only one in that class that didn't see a concert when everyone else did, and I was like, maybe I should have saved up the money to win, but oh well.
Oh well. Yeah, definitely. Another artist I like from Australia. Australia has some great artists that's come out of there. I like AC/DC, Silverchair. Remember Silverchair from the late '90s? Yeah. They were a good band. The Frog Stomp album, that was fucking great. It was like everyone was all about that. I remember towards my senior in high school, a lot of people were all happy about that. We're like, oh yeah, Silverchair, Frog Stomp was great, and then they put out the Freak Show when they changed up their sound a little bit. They still sounded good, but the third album they put out, I didn't really catch on to because I mean they had that one good song and that one ballad song, which was about it because I didn't really care too much about the album. But there are two other albums before that. I love those. I just felt that they kept trying to change it up a lot, and they're still a good band. I still consider them a great band, a great grunge rock band. And then of course from Australia, there's a lot of great artists. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. What was it? Midnight Oil.
Incredible. Oh yeah, Midnight Oil. Come on,
Yeah.
their beds are burning. Power of the
Oh
Passion.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. I'm pretty diverse in music. It is. Hard rock and metal is like my main go-to music though, but I listen to stuff from like classic rock to hip hop to rap to all the way. I even listen to the old shit, man. I do. I listen to like the old shit, like Chuck Berry, Muddy Waters. Yeah, I listen
Bill
B.E.
Withers and
King.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I listen to the blues. I like that. Johnny Lang, Stevie Ray Vaughan, just fucking great. If you go to like the '80s, I could do like the new wave, like Talking Heads, Tear for Fears. I just Blondie. I like listening. I keep my music diverse because someone said to me, they're like, "Oh, I figured you just straight rock and metal guy." I'm like, I am at heart. I'm like, yeah, metal. But also, it's I throw a diverse music out there. I just love music. I'm a fan of it, and
100%, man.
yeah, just 100% because it just that's just how I am. That's just the way I look at things because I'll sit there and it was funny. Someone last week or a few weeks ago tried to school me on a cassette tape. They thought I didn't know what a cassette tape was. They're like, oh yeah, I was like, yeah, this is a cassette tape. I'm like, uh-huh. And they're like, yeah, this is Damn Yankees. And I was like, oh yeah, Damn Yankees, yeah, Ted Nugent, yeah. They're one song that was really popular in 1990. It was High Enough, and Ted Nugent made fun of the lead singer because he was a vegan, and Ted Nugent's a hunter and meat eater. And the person looked at me and was like, oh, that's Ted Nugent? I was like, you're trying to school me on this shit? It's like, come on. The guy ended up walking away. I made him look like a jackass.
Oh yeah, damn straight, man.
Yeah.
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 I still reckon, man, the greatest rock bands ever lived is the Rolling Stones, in my opinion, man.
Oh
Like, I mean,
God.
just
Start Me Up.
it's
My favorite
oh
one,
man, like
man. Start Me Up.
in February over here, man, they had it was like an exhibition museum that Mick Jagger paid. I think it
Yeah.
was 600,000 for it started in December but finished in late February, and I went and seen it, and yeah, it was like early February before it finished, and it was like their old guitars and posters and clothes and stuff, and they had this they built this reenactment prop like studio when you first walk in of their old apartment before they were famous and stuff. So it was like you're walking into their life, and like for a natural person walking in, if you didn't want to read everything, it'd probably be maybe a few hours. I was in there for almost like 5 to 6 hours just reading everything, man. And
Wow.
at the end of the tour, like thing that you walk in, there was
Mm-hmm.
this 3D projector, uh, kind of like like the Tupac hologram thing where you put on these 3D glasses, and you're in this box, and this whole surrounding is like you're standing right in front of this uh, VR Mick Jagger, Keith
Wow.
Richards, like performing in front of you, like he's actually there, and you're
Uh-huh.
standing with all these like um, the crowd. I can't even pronounce the right words, man. But you're like it's like you're actually there, and 600,000 to that, so you can believe the technology behind that. And I remember he performed uh, Satisfaction, and when it finished and stuff, he's like, thank you everyone for that, and the whole crowd roars, and it goes back to black, and the footage ends. I remember taking off the glasses, and I had like happy tears just running down my cheeks like that. And the guy, the worker, he's like, "You okay, man?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, man, I'm just like happy like that." And he's like, "You're the first one to like, cry. Like no one's cried from that projector thing." I said, "Yeah, because it's the fucking Rolling Stones. What are you talking about? It's not Kim Kardashian or something, It's not Nicki
Yeah.
Minaj. Yeah, it's like the greatest rock band, And he's like, yeah, enjoy your day, man. I'm like, yeah, you too. And I had to like wipe my eyes so the girls who opened the final doors didn't see me cry. No, men don't cry, man. Yeah, man. But it was incredible, man. Like it was. Yeah, a great exhibition, and it's a shame because every time they come to Australia, the tickets are so damn expensive that it's like,
Of
God, I'll
course.
have to be like a lawyer just to purchase one of their tickets, man. So I don't
Yeah.
know if they ever do like a final tour. It's like this is our last time coming back to Australia, and the tickets are like $400 a piece. I'll be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna pay it anyway. Yeah.
Right.
Even if I'm like, if Mick Jagger's like a dot and I can't even see him, I'll just be like, yeah, fuck it, I'm still paying it.
Yeah, Mick Jagger. The guys, what how old is fucking Mick Jagger now? Is he like fucking
70,
what 70, and
78.
he still moves
Yeah.
like he's 20 on the stage. A lot of people say that.
Oh,
That's fucking great. That's fucking great. I hope Mugzy, when I'm 70, I'm still moving around like that, because I have a 2-year daughter, excuse me, 2-year old daughter, and hopefully, I mean, I try to keep up with her the best I can, and hopefully I could, when I'm 70, I could still keep up with her, because I'm looking at 60. I'm thinking, okay, when I'm 60, she'll be 20. She'll be 20, so I could probably still keep up with her. Even when I'm 70, when she's 30, hell yeah, I'm going to still try to keep up with her.
yeah, man.
Yeah,
Just put on the tights and then do like the dance like he does, man.
yeah,
Just push Satisfaction or Start Me Up and dance with him, man. 100%.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll probably end up doing that when I'm walking her down the aisle when she gets married, the day she gets married.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, I should say, yeah, play me some Mick Jagger when I'm walking down the aisle.
Yeah, you put like the hands on the hips and like do the chicken sort of dance he does where he walks down the aisle.
Yeah, do some crazy shit like that, man. That would be fucking great. And since we're talking about live performances, where can in Australia, where can people see you performing live at? Because you mentioned that earlier at the top of the program about going out and performing. Where do you usually perform at, or where is there a certain spot, or just wherever you can? How's that
It's
work?
mostly wherever I can, man. But in saying that, my number one platform I use for people to, keep up with gigs, interviews like this, or, even my third album that's coming up, go check out Mugzy on Facebook, Mugzy, or to UK and Australian viewers, that's Mugzy. But yeah, check me out. I think my page is the first one that comes up. I don't know, I have to check that. But if you're
It
an
is.
upcoming artist or whatever the case may be, hit up my inbox and I'll try and get back to you and stuff. Check out your work, or if you want to collab and vice versa, Mugzy on Facebook, and that's where you can keep up to date with all the great stuff that's going on so far. You know. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned that was the next question I want to ask you about new music, and what can
Mm.
you tell me about your next album and new music you have planned coming out?
Well, so far, man, because my second one released in 2013, and I jumped into the sort of the acting field because I thought it was another platform to broaden my resume. But in saying that, man, with this third one, um, I really want to do a triple disc because I feel that one disc is not enough for this next album. And some of the beats I have like on my iPod, man, and yeah, I still rock an iPod, man. Take me back to the thousands. Yeah, it's crazy. But nah, still to this day, even when I pull it out, people are like, "You still rock that?" And I'm just like, "That's old school," and I'm like, "It's grade school," So nah, so some of the beats I got, man, I really want to do a triple disc and 3 on 3. So it's the third album, a triple disc, and get as many collabs, features, and stuff as possible. But with the beats and the concepts I've got, like every time I listen and what I'm trying to, cook up in the studio, I do think it's gonna be something about it, man. Like when it gets released, people are gonna be like, "Damn, like let's push this more forward," because
Right.
it's just something about it, man. I just know it's gonna be, like great for me. And when it does get released, and I know that I've got the experience with interviews and gigs and all that jazz behind me now. When this third one gets released, that's when I'm going to start going to bigger platforms, man, which is, managers or labels or, in meetings and stuff and say, hey, I've got this experience and stuff. Check me out and that. I think it's the right time for me to
Right.
go on to bigger avenues, man. And continue what I'm doing now. But I just reckon after this album gets dropped, and I've got 3 albums under my belt and all this experience with whatever I've done in my career, my fan base and stuff, this is the next step to take me. So yeah, it's all just strategizing and planning, man. Yeah, going full throttle.
I like it. I definitely like it. And once again, before we wrap this up here, where can people find you on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram?
Yeah, saves me saving it, all individually, man. If you want to find my Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Reverb, just find it all on Facebook, man, at Mugzy, Mugzy. It's all attached there. And yeah, it saves you doing it individually, man. The easiest way is just to find my Facebook page and hit me up there, man. So check me out.
Nice. And of course, I want to mention Mugzy Brady on SoundCloud.com. Type in Mugzy and it should pop up. I Googled that and your SoundCloud came up and I clicked on it and I was brought directly to that, which I thought was great. And I want to say thank you for before ahead of time you sent me the links and information and stuff, where to find you on social media and on YouTube and on SoundCloud. I do appreciate that because that helped me out a lot, because when you sent me that stuff, I was like, okay, this is pretty cool, because I've been contacted in the past by, I'd say I had one person contact me in the past before, and they sent me a couple things, and when I checked out their stuff, it was updated a long time. But when I checked your stuff out and stuff, and I checked your social media, I was like, okay, you're current, you're up to date, which is great. And I want to, nod my hat to you for that right there, keeping up with social media and stuff, because of how much people are tuned into it, and having SoundCloud and using that as an outlet and everything, and just you're just being out there. And the interviews I haven't got to yet, because I've been jamming to your music. The night I turned on your music here and I cranked my speakers here on my computer, I had my 2-year-old daughter sitting on my lap with me. She started bouncing up and down and bobbing her head to it. I kid you not. I'm not making this shit up. I kid you not, because she loves music, but when she was listening to you, something she's never heard or she heard for the first time, wow.
Wow, man. So
yeah.
Then she got to taste some Mugzy before the next generation, man. That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's funny too, because like that's great. You're giving her better music than what I grew up on, man. I was growing up on the Wiggles and stuff, and I was too not hip hop music.
Yeah, she was loving it, man. She definitely was, and I want to thank you for that. And yeah, definitely, ladies and gentlemen, check out Mugzy. You got to check out Mugzy on the social media, on Facebook and on YouTube and on SoundCloud. And before we wrap up, I want to mention that you can find more Everett Lee on Stitcher Radio. Download that app for your smartphone and tablet. Libsyn.com. Everett Lee Show is on Libsyn and on iTunes or Google Play. However you pronounce it, Everett Lee Show is on there. Leave a rating and a comment. And the audio portion of this podcast you can find on YouTube.com. Search Everett Lee Show and subscribe to that. And please subscribe to Podcast City Network, your top source for independent podcasting. Hit them up on podcastcity.net. You can find Everett Lee Show and much, much more content on Podcast City Net. And hit them up on Facebook, Podcast City Network, and on Twitter at Podcast City Net. Subscribe to Podcast City Network on YouTube for the latest podcasts such as the Everett Lee Show and much, much more content. And right here on the channel you're viewing right now, be sure to follow Podcast City Network on Twitch, twitch.tv/Podcast City Network. And before I go, I want to make one last announcement. Next week on Wednesday, March 20th, Kentucky's own wrestling women's champion Harley Fairfax will be on the Everett Lee Show next Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. So tune in on twitch.tv/Podcast City Network. And you can follow, again, Podcast City Network on Facebook and on Twitter at Podcast City Net. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Everett Lee Show. And we are out of here. Everett Lee signing off. Have a good night. And we'll see you again next week for another episode of the Everett Lee Show. Peace.